Welcome back to another episode of What Are You Made Of with your boy, Mike C-Roc, the unstoppable Mike C-Roc. And you can be unstoppable too. All you got to do is read my book, Rocket Fuel, Convert Setbacks, Become Unstoppable. It's available now. Go get it. My website's a place or Amazon, but MikeCroc.com/book, MikeCroc.com/book. Guys, today I have a friend of mine I met on Clubhouse, DeAndre Evans. This has been a gold mine of relationships. If you're not on Clubhouse, go in there. Just pop in and listen and play around on there. You can't hurt anything as long as you don't say something you shouldn't say. But it's a gold mine for relationships. And I've just been finding some great people like DeAndre to connect with and, offer my help towards. What can I give to people? And I just want to encourage you to give to people before you try to take. And it's a great place to go. So DeAndre Evans is a social dynamics expert, thought leader, and entrepreneur. For 6 years, he has spent his time educating and inspiring thousands worldwide by sharing his strategies on how to build strong relationships, monetizing skills, and overcoming obstacles. That's my thing. He is the host of the Level Up Daily podcast, which has been featured as a top 100 iTunes business podcast, reaching over thousands of people across 12 different countries. DeAndre interviews the world's greatest entrepreneurs, from elite musicians to fitness experts, TV personalities, to visionary change makers. Welcome to the show, DeAndre.
Yo, what's going on, C-Roc, man? Glad to be on this show, man. I'm excited, and I appreciate you for bringing me on.
Yeah, so let me express gratitude to you and also the listeners here at the same time. I always love to start with gratitude because it removes everything to complain about in life. And, you realize what you have instead of what you don't have. And I just want to express that to you for coming on today. And also for the relationship that we will develop here in the future. Because my intention is anybody that I ever meet, especially people that come as a guest on my show, that we develop a relationship and impact the world together. So with that being said, the question that we always start with, DeAndre, is what are you made of?
Yeah, man, I love it. Actually, this is a great concept, and I love the question. To be quite honest, man, to put it to you, I'm made of love, man. That's me. That's something that I really pride myself on. Being of value to other people, meeting people like yourself through Clubhouse or just out in person. I grew up in a household full of women, and that's one thing that they really push and instill into me, to be respectful and to showcase that love. So I'm made of love, man. Spreading positive vibes to everyone that I meet and just doing the best that I can.
I love it, man. See, I named this show because I was like, I go through tough times sometimes and I'm like, come on, man, what are you made of? Like, look at all the stuff you've been through. Like, I talk to myself. I'm crazy, man. People might see me out sometimes like, this dude's talking to himself. But you know what? If it works, it works. So I started that by really trying to dig deep into what I've been through in my past and reminding myself, okay, if I'm going through a tough time, what have I been through before that's like this, so that I can reiterate that again and go into it and conquer it. So let's talk about you, man. You can go back far back as you want to, from diapers on up. Take us back, man, and tell us, how did you have this love thing come into you? Let's get into some stories.
Yeah. So I know for me growing up, man, again, I grew up in a household full of women. I was always that quiet kid. I stayed to myself. I really was the creative type too. So you'll see me like coloring on walls and being yelled at, saying, don't do that type of thing. But growing up over time, I always been interested in connecting with people. It's always been like a superpower, if you will, using my influence, whether it was, tricking my cousins to come outside and play, doing certain things, or, helping a lady across the street. And, my mother always instilled those principles and values in me. So growing up, being that creative mind, I always wanted to have my own business, but I didn't know how to start it, right? Growing up in a household full of women, no one in my family had a business. No one knew how to start one themselves. And so I had to teach myself the rules to the game, if you will. And so I will watch shows like Tom and Jerry, right? Don't judge me, but I would watch shows like Tom and Jerry.
Come on, man. I wouldn't judge you. The only thing I judge you about that is that's a cool ass show, because I watched it too, man. That was one of my favorites. That and the Jetsons and Flintstones. Yeah.
Yeah, come on, right? It's classic. So I would watch like Tom and Jerry. Then I would go old school. My grandfather, he would watch like old Lifetime shows. It was like black and white, like cowboy movies. And I would just pay attention to how people treated each other, right? And I would see, what made that person, act a certain way, respond a certain way. So I pay attention to the good and the bad, right? And so over time, I started to build like my confidence, my swagger, if you will, how I would approach things and situations. And so at times I would see my mom go out grocery shopping or going to buy me and my sister some new clothes for school. And I would see how she interacted with the employer, the employees, and how they treated her as well. So over time, it was all self-taught. I got into the mindset of, okay, I can do this type of thing. And then fast forward, because we're going to hop around a lot here, I'm pretty sure. I went into high school in the mindset of like, okay, I got to think about my life, right? I think every thinks about this at like 10th grade, 11th grade, senior year is like, okay, I got to get serious. And so being that creative, I was like, I need a route, I need a path. And I started diving into architecture. I was going to school for architecture to really dive into having my own business per se, because my mother always wanted a house. And so I thought it'd be cool, to build a house, design it, right, have it constructed, and I'm being the guy and the young man to provide for my mom. And over time, I thought that was my passion. I guess it was at the time in the moment, but it wasn't once I got into high school. And so when I got into high school, I thought, I had this whole thing figured out. But deep down inside, I kept going back to like designing graphics, designing websites, designing anything more so hands-on versus like the AutoCAD, type of thing. And so as I'm going through the journey, I'm like, okay, I got to make a decision, right? I got to make a decision whether I'm going to go full force with this architecture thing, which I'm really not that sure about, or I got to take a step back and see the bigger picture and, follow what my heart is pushing me towards. So following that love, that passion that I had really, which was in designing and creative arts. And so I dropped out of college, which was a scary moment me, but for my mom, right?
Yeah, I've
Not
been
for me,
there.
but for my mom, right? And so my mom is like, are you sure? What are you gonna do? And I'm like, at the time, this is what, back in 2013, maybe. So not that long ago, but a couple years back for me. I'm young, I'm 27. So at the time, it wasn't as sexy as it is now to drop out of college and go off. But during that time, she was nervous, but I was confident. I'm like, I got this. I'm gonna kill whatever I put my mind to.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's like, okay, well, let's give it a shot. And over the last, I would say 4 going on 5 years, I built this massive digital agency here in Michigan, helping a lot of small businesses grow their brands through upscale, distinctive, and high converting graphic and web design. And so I've been pretty proud to build a couple brands up to help them grow about $1 million in revenue. So that's been like a key highlight. And I'm looking to triple down on that over the upcoming years here. But yeah, that's been like my focal point, sticking to my guns, following my heart, following my first love, which was design aspect.
Yeah, I love that, man. And I went to college and I dropped out, and I was doing pretty good too. I had a 4.0, but I dropped out and I was ready to go. You ever watched the movie Cocktail back in the day with Tom Cruise?
Yes, yes, I did. Yeah,
Yeah, he
yeah.
always had this dream about opening up this Caribbean bar, and I thought I was going to go in the restaurant business and open up this, dude. I thought I was Tom Cruise. I guess I don't know, but but I dropped out too back in '98. I think it was about 97, 98, man. And my mom was so ticked at me, man, and I just not that I didn't care. I just was like, no, man, I'm going to go make it. I'm going to go make it, and it's time for me to go. And so I experienced that same thing. I had that drive in me. So when you started your digital agency, it's one thing to start a company. It's one thing to have a product. It's a whole nother thing in getting customers and marketing it, right?
Yeah.
How did you go about that from the start?
Yeah, so to be honest, most people like to jump off the cliff, head first with the arms outstretched. I kind of like did a backflip off of it. Like I went in style. So for me, I would just really, pretty much big on Instagram at the time of me growing my following. I was really like into the creative space. So Instagram was my home. It's been my home. It's still my home. That's where I'm at. That's where I live. And so I would post certain things and aspects, and I would tag certain companies and certain people online and see what would happen. Like I was super curious in the beginning, just like a lot of people. And so for me, my strategy was exposure, right? So I learned this from Grant Cardone. He was like, yo, the only thing that's worse than being broke is obscurity. Right. And I was like, oh, that's big, right? If people don't know you, then you can't make any freaking money. So I was like, yeah, I got to get out here in this space and just be seen. So I would create like little design graphics, right? And my target audience, honestly, I had to determine was women, right? I'm pretty sure, as a man, you attract women right in business and vice versa, depending on the industry. And so I played to that strength and that poise of just knowing, okay, what do women like? Right? They like the sweet things, they like the emotional aspect, they like the trips. So I would create content and design aspects around that to really push out and deploy. So I was already, again, tagging people, testing ads at the time, seeing how that worked. I lost a whole bunch of money. Don't let me get into that. But I just started testing, testing and tasting a lot of different things. And so for me,
But
that's
that
been
money
the
was
journey.
an investment though, man. that money was an
Yeah.
investment because if, as long as you learned something and got some kind of data or info out of it, that's investment as far as I'm concerned,
Right,
right?
right on. Absolutely. Yep. And it comes to that perspective too. Like, what you put in is what you get out of it. But I just knew that, if I quit, that went to a waste. That was a loss, in my case, but I couldn't because I had made this promise to myself. I made this promise, honestly, to my mom in my mind, right? I didn't tell her, but I was like, I'm going to make you proud, like that type of thing. So, pushing forward and just being driven as a young man is in a space of this marketing, trying to get my feet wet. I just stayed persistent in the pursuit of everything. And, over time, I really started to build my brand. And it kind of like trickled down. So Level Up Daily is the agency, but it's like an umbrella. And I treat it that way because I have my podcast and other entities underneath it. And so, once the agency started going and people started tagging and posting and pinging me left and right, like saying, hey, check out DeAndre's agency. He's got great work, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I'm getting a lot of feedback from so many people. And I was like, it'd be cool to share this experience on how I built my brand, how I built my name, created like a authority figure, if you will, in a space, and create a podcast out of it. So, I'm pretty sure we're going to dive into it, but, Gary V, he was the
Yeah.
guy that pretty much got me started in podcasting. He was yelling at me, right? Telling me, yo, listen, get started, do a podcast, get it activated. And I remember sitting down on my bed with a little iPhone 5 at the time. Don't judge me. I just kept it. I was like one of those tech guys that like to hold on to stuff. And so I had the same little headphones I got. And I just sat on my bed and I remember recording and like thinking, man, is this even going to work? Like I was kind of low key doubting myself. Like people are going to listen to this. I have
Right,
no
right.
idea what I'm going to do
It's that
right.
little voice. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just like, should I? And next thing I know, after the first 3 to 5 episodes, I had like 5,000 people tune in. And that was across all my social media. And I was like, whoa, this is crazy. Like, did you guys really listen to these episodes first off? Because I wasn't talking about a damn thing. Right. And secondly, like, do you guys really rock with me? So, over time, I started building my confidence, started learning the industry, getting into it. And I started meeting people like yourself, working with people like Elena Cardone, David Meltzer, Brad Lee, Mario Armstrong, John Henry, Natalie Jill. The list goes on and on, John Lee Dumas, right? And I started to build my brands and my relationships. And they got me to this point of just building my brand.
And were you doing calls to action on your podcast?
In the beginning, I was not, right? In the beginning, I was just, testing the waters. I was like, literally, if you go back and listen to my first episode, you're probably going to cringe. I know I do. I just keep it up there too, to show people the evolution, right?
Yes.
Of
Yeah.
how it happened. So,
Yeah, man.
I didn't have any true call to action. Over time, I started to think like, wait, Dre, what are you doing? Like you have your own platform, right? You have your own space, utilize it to push more traffic to my agency. I wasn't even thinking like that. I was just sharing experiences. I was just talking. And over time, that's when I started to have the call to action, like, hey guys, I got this going on, if you're looking for a web design, graphic design type of thing. And people started reaching out from there.
Do you remember your first customer?
From the podcast or just
From
first?
the agency?
Yeah. So okay. So my very first customer was my cousin, right? My cousin gave me a chance. And they only gave me a chance because obviously we're family, but they actually saw like this cool graphic that I did. Cause at the time, again, I was going to become an architect. So I created my first website. And I think it's still up. I might have to send you the link. You could check it out and send it to people too. It's horrible, but I was designing my first website. It was my portfolio of all the artwork that I did, all the AutoCAD and the graphics, the rendering. And I was trying to build it out to go and transfer over to U of M. So University of Michigan, I was going to transfer over before I dropped out, right? And I was designing it and she was looking at it and she was like, what are you doing? I was like, oh, this is called a website, just being smart. It was like, okay, yeah. What are you doing though? Like, do you do this for real? Like, are you just getting into it? Is this a thing? And I was like, yeah, man, I'm really pretty passionate about this. And I feel like I can do a great job. And she was like, you know what? Well, I'll give you a chance, but only if you make it look sweet. Okay. You got to make sure you publish it and you get in front of your audience on your platform. So I had to like push it out on my social media. She was leveraging me. Right. And so she was my first customer and my first client as far as my agency. And I'll never forget it.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Now, the picture behind you, I noticed that obviously it's behind you for a reason. And I love the color of it. I love it's Nipsey, you said, right? So I
Yeah.
couldn't tell because the head was cut off at first. But
Oh, yeah.
tell us what that means to you. By the way, where did that come from? That picture?
Yeah. Yeah. So this artwork, this picture came from my guy's name is Technodrome. Great artist. I actually discovered him just shopping online, just looking up stuff. And I saw this piece and it really resonated with me because, at the time, Nipsey being around, being an influence, especially in the rap space, his legacy is still living on. He got so much content out there that's really pushing entrepreneurship, if you will. And it really resonated with me because I understood what he stood for. Like coming from Detroit, where it's very shallow, it's dark, there's not a lot of opportunity or resources there. You're just climbing, you're constantly climbing, looking for a way out. And for him, he was on the opposite end, right? He stayed in Los Angeles and he was going through something similar. So I was able to relate to him through his music and his wordplay. And I found that connection to continue to strive for it, right? To learn how to focus on what you can control versus what you can't, right? So it all became a mental game to me. And, a lot of the times we kind of get wrapped up in that space of just like, focusing too much on the past or focusing too much on the present or on the future, I should say, but not focusing enough on the present, right? Living in the moment. And so as he's going through his journey, I'm going through mine, I was able to connect the dots. And from there, it allowed me to, step back, see the bigger picture, to bring value to people in a new light. So that's another reason why I started my podcast, was kind of influenced by him and Gary Vee as well, just to have the control of your narrative, right? A lot of the times, especially in the Black community, we don't really have control of our narrative, right? And we kind of pushed out, we saw it as obviously like a rapper or an athlete, right? We're not really saw it as like businessmen and women to a degree. And if we are, it's kind of swept up under the rug. And so, having my own platform, having my own voice to be able to bring people on like yourself and so many amazing guests, it allows me to, push the narrative a little bit further on what's possible in the community. And, that's been my main focus over the last 4 years, having this podcast called Level Up Daily.
Yeah, I love it, man. I love it. And as all this stuff's been going on, I've been talking about this a lot on the past few shows that I've had. And, I don't know what it's like to be Black, man, and I can only imagine. And it's something that like bothers me to see some of the things that are going on. And, I've had I grew up in a northeastern part of Maryland, and, I had my own beliefs, and I grew up actually right before that in southeastern Pennsylvania. And I was like me and a bunch of Latino kids from I think kindergarten until about fifth grade. And I thought I was just one of them. I mean, I was Italian, but I didn't speak Spanish much, but I just thought I was one of them. And then I go to Maryland, and I go there, and it's mostly white kids and then a few Black kids. I thought I was supposed to hang out with the Black kids. So I would go and I would hang out, and I'd get my ass kicked for some reason. I couldn't figure out why. And they were always laughing. So then I started as a kid, and like, I can't figure this out. Like, am I supposed to? So it's a thing when you're growing up and you're around belief systems as well, and family, and then you just got to figure your way through. And then really, I think what shines through, DeAndre, is your heart. Where's your heart, man? Like all the stuff that goes on, and you can hear things from different people and their beliefs and all this, but really, where's your heart? Because if you have a great heart, at the end of the day, you love people, man. Right. And you want to see everybody succeed and everybody win and support each other and lift each other up. And all the stuff that's going on, I don't understand all of it, honestly. And one thing I can tell you though is I want everybody to win, but I don't like, and it doesn't matter it doesn't matter what race they are or anything. I don't like when people make excuses that they don't do anything about. Like, I don't want to hear, and it's just, like I said, this has nothing to do with that's part of it. But when somebody has an issue and they're not doing anything about it, but just sitting there complaining, you follow me? Because I want people to make progress. And the only way to do progress is take action on it. Now, if you're taking action on it and you're getting pushed down and kept down, that's a different story. So so some people are like this, and it's not just, like I said, in the race situation, but it's in businesses, it's in organizations and families. Like people complain and complain and complain, but not do anything about it. So right. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, man, I totally
rant there.
No, I resonate with it, man. You're right. A lot of people do take that time to sit back, complain, and they never do anything about it. They always, mope to themselves, or they get around a group of people, right? And a lot of the times, we use the word average, right? It's not a bad word to use. A lot of people think it's below as far as negative, but it means normal. And when you get around a lot of normal people and they're telling you, hey, it's okay to feel this way, they try to baby you and make you feel soft about a certain thing and aspect, you get into this mind of like, okay, I guess this is fine, right? You just accept it versus going to someone like yourself or me who are driven, who are known to push boundaries, rocket fuel, right? To always push and excel. It's like, yo, when you surround yourself with certain people who are willing to push you and stretch you and make you a little uncomfortable, you start to strive a little differently. And so I totally resonate with it, because a lot of the times people try to master, their life in one day. And I tell all my students this and my clients this all the time. It's just not possible, right? So you got to relax and learn to master the day and keep doing that every single day, right? Because you are the greatest project you will ever work on. And I think a lot of people forget that. And so as you're going through your journey, right, and you're trying to build your brand, build your personal relationships, you're just trying to excel in all areas of your life, you want to make sure that you're non-tradable. Right. And so what I mean by that is, and a lot of the times, whether it's physically, mentally, spiritually, financially, you want to make sure that you're pretty sound in all areas of your life, because you don't want to be that person that enters a room and be forgotten about, or be someone that just knocks off the wagon, or no one thinks of you. You want to be that person non-tradable. And I'll give you an example of that. Like, you think of the NBA, right? You got major league players in there, right? That's very talented, very gifted. You got these people that made it out of millions and millions of people across the world. And, some of these people I know, so I don't want to throw shots out there. It's all love. But you got guys like James Harden, right? He plays for OKC, what he did. And then he went to Houston Rockets, and then he went to the Nets, right? And for him, he was great at one particular thing, which is scoring, right? He's only great at scoring. And so when you're only great at one particular thing, you're tradable in a sense, because I can find someone else that can score. Every now and then he may drop a couple of assists, but that was it. Versus a guy like Tim Duncan, who played for San Antonio Spurs, right? He's very well-rounded. He knows how to score. He's not stingy with the ball. He'll drop some assists. He'll get the rebounds. He'll play defense. And if you were to ask yourself, which guy would you rather have, or in this case, obviously a guy, but in life, with women as well, would you have on your team? Would you want the person that's well-rounded, or you want the person that's just sweet in one area? So, for
Yeah.
me, I always think and go back to becoming that person that's non-tradable, pushing forward, not looking for an excuse, not looking for a handout, giving it my all in all areas. So when I do either hop in Clubhouse, right, in the rooms with certain people, they be like, oh, yo, that's DeAndre, bring him up, or yo, I seen him out and
Yeah.
about, he's crushing it, or checking out his Instagram, whatever it is. You just want to make sure you have that authority to make sure you can push a little bit further here in your journey.
Right. Right. And the thing about like the conversations that take place like in those communities and in organizations, and that all people have to do is reach out and talk and listen.
Yeah.
But so many people like shut off. And I think, like a lot of times, like they'll get with each other. Like, I feel like if I stay with my group, I'm like surviving, right? It's more survival because we're banded up, rather than taking that chance risk and going out and reaching your hand out and saying, hey, let's talk about this, man. I want to hear, I want to understand. Because I think if we can all converse, we can get, so again, it goes back to, I talk about every morning. I wake up, I try to be the best husband, the best father, the best employer, the best I can be at everything I can be, just like you're talking about. And when people go to work, a lot of times they don't they just want to do what they got paid to get paid for, or just under. But if you can do more than what you're paid for, and for a longer period of time, you will be paid more than you're worth.
Facts.
But you won't be paid more than you're worth hardly ever until you do that for a long period of time. And that's what makes the difference. And that's what you're talking about, I believe.
Right? Absolutely, man. 1000%.
Yeah. So what's next for DeAndre? Like, what's a big picture, man? Like, what are you going for? Like, what's your big giant vision?
Oh man, big vision right now, man, is to double down on my agency. Looking to get in more clients, right, to push out their brands, especially during this time as this pandemic, right? It's happened. A lot of people losing their jobs and homes, and it's all kind of stuff happening. And I feel like I'll be a disservice if I don't use my gifts and abilities to help someone else climb. So I'm looking to help this year 200 to grow their brands and scale out to gain visibility within their brand and help them generate some income, right? Because a lot of people need that to live and thrive. And so that's been my big focus. But outside of that, my podcast, I'm definitely looking to have, events coming up here soon. I'm working on some plays behind the scenes, getting some people in to either host some virtual events in this space and, show people what's possible and not have them be limited by of thought. Like, having people like you, C-Roc, for example, who has this amazing podcast, asks great questions, right? You know how to correlate everything from top to bottom and showcasing that to other people who may be thinking about it but don't know where to begin. So really bringing in, talent from all different backgrounds, ethnicities, and showcasing that, we really can work together. It doesn't matter about skin color, the tonality of things. Like, listen, it just takes a plan it takes commitment and devotion to it. And so that's what I want to build out here and create some events and get some more exposure for everyone.
I love that, man. And you got me anytime you need me. All you got to do is reach out, by the way. So, but you know, and the other thing about the color picture behind you, all the different colors, right? And like, you know, when people say, I don't see color, like, no. I see color. I see color. I just don't
Yeah.
prejudge it,
Yeah.
you know? And that I'm just trying to think, this picture is like, got me mesmerized, man. I love it. And,
Yeah,
you know, that's a lesson for everybody, man. It's okay to see color, but man, don't prejudge and work together, converse, and let's do some amazing things and impact the world together, man. That's what I'm all about.
facts.
so,
Facts. Same, man.
so before
Same.
I get into the final question, DeAndre, you know, which is the rocket fuel question, I want to know how my audience can get in touch with you. You mentioned Instagram's where you hang. Is that the best way for them to engage with you?
Yeah, if they want to reach out on Instagram at DeAndre_Evans, they can. My DMs are open. Feel free to contact me. Or if you want to check out the agency, if you're curious about that and need some help growing your brand and digital real estate, if you will, feel free to visit www.levelupdaily.com. You'll be able to check out work there and actually chime in with me as well. So those are the two main platforms. Outside of Facebook, I'll be on there a little bit. It's just my name, DeAndre Evans, but Instagram and my website are probably the best bet.
Facebook sucks. I don't like Facebook.
We got Clubhouse now.
I'm
Come on.
I'm on there, but you know.
Yeah.
But yeah. So anyway, man, thank you so much, guys. Go support DeAndre. You know, anybody comes on our show, we love to support the guests. Final question here. The rocket fuel concept all started for me when I was a young kid and my dad threw $100 bill at me and basically gave up on me. Said I was going to need it when I was living on the streets with my mother one day. That lit a spark in me, and 30 some years I've been driving off that spark, man, fueled off of it, and couldn't figure it out until about 3 years ago, really what was fueling me. And I figured it out. I bottled it. It's the rocket fuel law. Just like John Maxwell has his leadership laws. This is a rocket fuel law because if you implement this, it's guaranteed to work. It's a fact. And what it is that you take all setbacks, discouragement, haters, anything, disappointment, anything that's bad that would normally stop you or slow you down, and you convert it into rocket fuel for your future to become unstoppable. What does that mean to you, DeAndre?
Yeah, man, I love that that insight there. I really do appreciate that. Rocket fuel, man, to me, honestly, it's the reason why you do what you do, right? What's going to get you off the ground. And for me, is really honing in on the reason why I do what I do, what gets me out of bed, right? And so I tell, again, a lot of clients and students this, like, if your why doesn't make you cry, it's not strong enough. And so for me, it's like I attach that to my mom, right? Me just being a mama's boy, let's just throw it out there. That's fine, right? So I love my mom to death, right? Right? I love my mom to death. I'll do anything for her. And every time I see her and I look in her eyes, I'm like, man, I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna do this for you. I'm gonna make sure you're taken care of X, Y, and Z. And I found out over time that she didn't even have a 401k. And I was like, wow, really? You didn't have a 401k after all these years? And she was like, no, I was, taking care of you and your sister, doing this by myself. And I was like, well, don't worry. I'm gonna be your 401k. So I'm gonna make sure I get up, right? I'm gonna make sure I strive. I'm gonna make sure I get on this podcast or different platforms to showcase my gift and talent that you've blessed me with. And so, for me, the rocket fuel is honing down and finding that anchor, something that pushes you to actually catapult off of the rocket pad, if you will, into the atmosphere and really soar. So that's what it means to me, my friend.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well said. Well said. Thank you so much for coming on, DeAndre. I appreciate you guys. And if there's anything I can ever do, like I said, I'm a phone call or message away. All right.
My guy. Appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Guys, been listening to the What Are You Made Of podcast with your boy, the unstoppable C-Roc. You can be unstoppable too. As I said, just learn how to do it. I can show you the way. Just come see me at MikeCroc.com/book, MikeCroc.com/book. Go support DeAndre. And until next time, guys, be unstoppable.